our facilitator, who is no stranger in the entrepreneurial circles, Dr. Jabulile Msimango Kalawe, known to many as Dr. J, and actually we prefer to call her Dr. J. So Dr. J is our senior lecturer in entrepreneurship here at WBS. She's an entrepreneur herself and founder of Dr. J Business Support. Dr. J, I will hand over to you, but maybe some house rules. I think we are all aware of the house rules, you know, mics off, please switch off your videos, but I see everybody has done that. So Dr. J, over to your capable hands.
Thank you, Ritendo, and thank you for the warm welcome. You've been welcomed already, but I will say again, welcome to everybody. We are looking forward to a very exciting 1 hour or so, depending on how much you ask the questions and talk and all that. But already by the look of things, it looks like it's going to be a really exciting 1 hour. It's 1.5 hours, yeah. Let me not raise your expectations for 1 hour, for 1.5 hours. And already I see people in the chats, people are already talking. So it seems like, yeah, it's going to be really exciting. So as Rutendo has already introduced me, I'm popularly known as Dr. J. I normally say Jabulile. Those who are not Zulu sometimes might forget that name. But Dr. J, you'll never forget that one. It's easy to remember. And I like it anyway to be called Dr. J for your information. It's nice to be called Dr. something, because I wanted to be a medical doctor and I never became. So this is the closest I could get. But welcome everybody. So I'm an entrepreneur myself. My entrepreneurship journey really started in like 2004. I started my first business first as a side hustle, and then after that I went on full time, and then I went back to side hustling, and then I went on full time, and then now I'm back again having a job and a business. And the details of that will come through as we talk, why I keep on changing the side hustling and doing it full time and all that. But yeah, so entrepreneurship, I teach entrepreneurship at the business school, I practice it. So I try to be in both worlds. It's not always easy, but I try to be in the practice world and the theory world and do the research and all that. So that's me in a nutshell. And I also work as a business and executive coach. So I've got many hats. So I changed the head. So today I'll be wearing the hat of a facilitator, and I'll let my panelists, the entrepreneurs in the team to talk more. And I'll take this opportunity and allow them to introduce themselves, and they can tell us who they are, what they do, when did their entrepreneurship journey started, how it started, why it started, are they side hustling or are they doing it full time? We're gonna start with the only gentleman in the panel. Mzo, do you want to start?
Am I the only gentleman in the panel?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I always enjoy this type of engagements. I'm always on the other side with the audience. I attend a lot of these, whether they're face-to-face or virtual. So thank you very much for bringing me in. I'm hoping that you guys will gain one or two things out of my story. In terms of introduction, the name is Mzoxolo in full, but you can call me Mzo, M-Z-O, Mzo Kulwa. I'm the founder and CEO of Purple Growth. Purple Growth is a business that operates mainly in 3 areas: management, consulting, training, and coaching. From a consulting point of view, we do a lot of work in working with top management teams in all types of organizations, developing their strategy, working with them in terms of enhancing their organizational culture, We do a lot of HR work as well, developing policies and all of that. And then from a training point of view, it's more soft skills training, leadership, management, capability building, and obviously executive coaching. So that's what we do as a business. And then coming back to me, my work experience, I've been working for 21 years now. My work experience has largely been in the financial services sector, having spent over 13 years at Standard Bank. Before that, I worked in the public sector and a few law firms as an information specialist. I'm also involved heavily in the academic space, teaching at Wits Business School on strategy, business acumen, and a few other related topics. I also teach at UCT, Graduate School of Business, and also on the new MBA at Johannesburg Business School. So I'm quite involved in that space as well. In terms of my journey into business, it started in 2016, where I opened Purple Growth as a side hustle, with a view that one day I'll go into the business full time. 4 years later, it has not happened. Okay, so while I was at the bank, I think on my 11th year, that's when I started Purple Growth. And I just became overwhelmed. So with all the expectations from the bank, I was in a very senior role at the bank, heading up competitive analysis. And then the lecturing portfolio was growing very fast as well. And the business was starting to pick up. And I said to myself, I can't do all of these things at the same time. I've got to make a decision. It's great to have all of this money coming from left, right. But I said, I have to make a decision, because what you tend to notice is that somehow performance will drop. You are only human being. So I was in a space when I started where I was a star everywhere. So I was one of those people who get the employee of the year almost every year at the bank, and also doing fairly well in the lecturing space. So the portfolios were growing everywhere. And then I said, no, something has to give. So I decided to then leave the bank in 2019, 2 years after having started this business. But what I had done was to put a team to run the business on my behalf. That's where most of my money was going, in terms of looking after the team and having patience in terms of saying, we're not going to make profit immediately, but let's make the investments, let's be patient, and so on. So yeah, here I am, now focused on Purple Growth. I would say I am 65% focused on Purple Growth. And then the other 35% of my time is taken by the teaching work. So that's where I am. But the view is within the next 2-3 years, I need to be 100% focused on that particular business. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's me in terms of intro.
Thank you, Nzo. I like the honesty to say the money is nice. It comes from all 4 corners of the world, and then now the pressure comes. Employee of the year is disappearing, is no more. And then everything starts now being average. It's not the best anymore, because we all have 24 hours. We'll get to the gist of that as to if you want to do both, you want to be in both worlds, you want to be the top employee at work, you want to be the top business man, and you want it all. How can you do that? But we'll get to that. It's interesting. I just noted that you say, I got overwhelmed and I had to make some decisions. Maybe we have some people here who need to make some decisions, and we'll explore that a bit more as to when do you make that decision. And Tabi, let's hear. I know you side hustled as well, and you were stressed. Work was calling, and business was calling, and clients were complaining, and employer complaining, all that. So tell us about your journey. Introduce yourself. Tell our listeners here, how did your entrepreneurship journey start? Are you side hustling? Are you full time, and why?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. J. Let me start by greeting everyone and obviously giving thanks to Wits Business School for this great opportunity. I'm super happy to be in this platform. And like they introduced me, my name is Ntabi. So I'm a brand builder, I'm a designer, a founder of 2 amazing brands that I got to establish. So I have IL Design's Creative Approach, which is a design agency that offers branding solutions. And some of the services include designing websites, helping with digital marketing, building logos, building your brand actually in general. So that's the part of IL Designs. And I also established a brand, which is more of a personal brand, but it is also paying out. It is monetized as well, which is Real Talk with Ntabi. So a Real Talk with Ntabi has a foundation. It also has an established, what should I say, person. I got to establish myself as a business public speaker, and I also have platforms that help me to just monetize the brand itself by creating content. So I'm great when it comes to creating content as well. So those are the two brands that I got to start. And yeah, that has been a nutshell. So my journey as an entrepreneur began when I was still in tertiary. So my company, IL Design, started operating when I was still in school. I think I was doing my second year. And when I realized, or when I saw a gap of clients coming in and even students themselves requesting me to do work for them and charging them, I saw that as an opportunity. So that's how it started. So it was basically a side hustle when it began. And then later on, I got to be fully employed, finished, graduate and all that. And the business was running. I was running it on the side. But of course, later on, it caught up with me because as the business grows, you get an opportunity to get more clients, more services are coming, more projects are coming. And if you have two jobs, it can be difficult. So at some point I had to make a decision. So yeah, but let me not give out everything. I'm sure there will be a point during the session where I can dwell much into all of that. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ntabi. So two people in our panel, at some point, they had to make a decision. Dr. Friend, I call Dr. Haji Dr. Friend because we all had, both of us have PhDs in entrepreneurship. So when we found each other, we said, oh, we found a friend in entrepreneurship with a PhD. So Dr. Friend, how did your journey start? And are you side hustling? Are you full-time? Have you gotten to that point as well where you had to make a decision, or your decision was different to do both the business and continue working, and how is that working? So just take us through your journey, where it started, why and how.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Friend, for a brilliant introduction. Very happy to be here. My journey is weird because everything that I am today is by default. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. In fact, I remember a couple of years ago when I was coming back from America, armed with a very good management degree, a master's degree. I was offered an opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And I remember vividly refusing that offer because I kind of thought entrepreneurs really have it hard. And I was like this bright, young, corporate climbing person. And for me, money has never really been a big issue. So even the salary that I was offered was like, yo, this is big. So everything, it's really, really about that. So yeah, so for the longest time, I was a corporate animal in the sense that I've always been in financial services. I've always been in banking, everything financial, like talking about tax, talk about banking, even overseas. I was fortunate enough to actually work in Washington, DC in the financial services sector. So yeah, I was really, really never an entrepreneur. And I must say that every time I hear people ask the question, are entrepreneurs born or made? I always say, if anybody thinks I'm an entrepreneur today, I was really made, because I don't think I was born. I decided to do, at some point, then I kind of started having an inclination towards entrepreneurship. And I went on to do my MBA, hoping that after the MBA, I would become a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. And interestingly, after getting my MBA, I just continued climbing the corporate ladder. And I look back and I kind of realized that maybe I was wrong, because the definition of MBA stands for business administration. So literally, you're not really being taught to be an entrepreneur. You're actually being taught to become even a better corporate person. So after my MBA, tough luck for me, I continued working. But almost like you, Dr. J, I went to medical school. Unlike you, I didn't dream about it. I actually made it to medical school, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like blood and all those things. But unfortunately for my parents, they were disappointed because they started calling me Dr. Hajo, you know, the minute I registered at medical school. So I dropped out of medical school and life went on. But later on, I fell in love with the concept of doctor. So I went into PhD purely for the title. Nothing. There was nothing about anything, but I just hoped to become a doctor so that I can say to my parents, one of your 8 kids is a doctor. So I get to business school. I start doing my PhD, and the journey really started in my first year of PhD, because the professor then asked, how many of you in this class are entrepreneurs? Because you are all registered for PhD in entrepreneurship. And shockingly, surprisingly, only 3 people out of a class of maybe 50, I think, raised their hands. And, you know, professors, you know, they've got a way of saying things. They were like, aha, so all of you are just here for the fun of it. And of course, there was that discussion around, are you really serious? Why are you here? You've never tried entrepreneurship, but you are in this class. And that kind of made me uncomfortable. And the next question to the 3 guys that raised their hands, was, how many times have you failed as an entrepreneur? And guess what? They had never failed. And the professor again said, there's no entrepreneur in this class. If you've never failed, if never whatever, it means you guys are not serious. And of course, then there were assignments and we had to go interview entrepreneurs. And the next shock for me is that I was struggling to find entrepreneurs, people in my circles, people that I knew. So my assignment took a little bit too long, because I mean, I would ask my husband, my friends, do you know anybody? And you know, the big names that you know, that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for people that really started or just starting out. And I struggled. And again, that kind of raised something in me, like, why are we struggling to even know entrepreneurs in my own circles? Yes, to cut a long story short, I became an entrepreneur because I was in an entrepreneurship environment and I had to do assignments. And of course, I got taught how to identify an opportunity and how to solve that issue or a problem. And from then on, so the 2 businesses that I have, basically, they were my PhD assignments. And yes, so Dr. J, I was made. I mean, I don't really care who says what. If you're talking to me and you say I'm an entrepreneur, I believe honestly that I was made. I was not born. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Friend. I like that you're bringing in the PhD. We study the entrepreneurship, we get the qualifications, and we are still not entrepreneurs. One colleague said, I think it's Dr. McEdward, said, the funny thing about entrepreneurship is that it's different from all other things. Engineering, you study engineering, you become an engineer. Medicine, you study, you become a doctor. But entrepreneurship, you study it, you finish, you are still not an entrepreneur. You only become one when you go and practice it. So it doesn't matter, you can have even 5 PhDs, masters, or whatever in entrepreneurship. If you haven't gone and failed, you are not it. So I like the fact that you've changed your PhD. It was as much as you went for the title, but it has worked for you, and you started your business from that. Let me welcome again those who've just joined us. We'll be taking questions. You can put your questions in the chat, and then from there on, then we'll keep on checking. So Rutendo, can you please watch questions there for us? And then whenever we've got questions, because I'm not very good at multitasking, and then we'll go to Rutendo, and then she'll let us know when we've got questions to answer. And also share your stories. Are you side hustling? Are you full-time entrepreneur? And why? And what are the interesting things that you've been finding out? So the big question really that we're talking about today: should you jump ship or should you not? Should you be full-time or should you be hybrid? Is side hustling taken serious, or if you are side hustling, you are not a proper entrepreneur? Those are the things that we hope to explore a bit more today and talk about, and then see how we can come up with some insights that hopefully will help some of the people in the audience, and all of us, we can learn from that. Maybe let's start from the panelists. My first question: should people jump ship or should they stay side hustling? I'll allow whoever in the panelists to start. When did you know that you need to jump ship or you need to stay and side hustle?
I think because I'm still doing both, I've thought about this question many times. And at some point, I really wanted to jump ship, especially I've got a natural hair business, and I think it's in my bio. That was my PhD assignment. The definition of entrepreneurship, it's identifying opportunities and going out, gather resources to exploit them. So I remember that the easiest way to make us understand the definition as students was to say, what is it that you're struggling with as a person? As a student, what are you struggling with? Because that very thing that you're struggling with, someone needs to solve it. And who is that person going to be if it's not you? And the thing is, I remember thinking about the many problems that I had, the many issues. I tried several things. I've got 3 boys, and my boys love soccer. And as you can imagine, the whole issue around the soccer in the country, in the continent, in the world, it's just too much. So my boys would always go for soccer trials and make it, but because we Seventh-day Adventists, is a challenge. So I remember trying to in my situation. And I remember within 2 months, I had about 53 boys the first time we went for soccer. And it went on for a while and it was exciting. But unfortunately, because really, as I said, I don't think I was born. At some point, I got very frustrated when it was getting too big and there were more people coming in. I had to also talk to soccer players that had retired, and I just got frustrated with that. But eventually, when I got into doing my natural hair, because almost every African woman, Black woman, would tell you that there's an issue around hairline. So I was slowly beginning to join the hairline trade, people losing their hairline. So I thought to myself, I mean, I've been going to different salons, I've been trying different products. Why don't I just try to do this myself? And it literally, it went, you know, when something just, literally, I ticked all the things, the boxes of what is entrepreneurship. So I started from scratch to actually come up with my own products. And I did it in the kitchen, and everything that I did in the kitchen was weird because I used Google a lot, and I eventually came up with it. So if you ask me when is the right time to jump with where I am today, because I was fortunate enough to be identified by the Department of Trade Industry as a manufacturer. And I got some mentorship and stuff like that. But the good thing about starting a business today is because of technology. Because many things that would force you to jump then to go and run your factory yourself. In my case, especially with my natural hair business, I soon discovered that I don't need to run that factory myself while I'm still employed. I can actually contract manufacture to somebody else. So that answers the question is, when is the right time to jump? For me, that time has not come because almost everything I do is e-commerce related. So the physical thing, and as I said, I wanted to jump at some point to set up a factory until I discovered that there's actually another way of doing it. And yeah, so that's my story to say, when is the right time to jump? I think business will dictate to you when to jump.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's hear Ntabi. I see your mic is on. Do you want to jump onto that?
All right, so when is the right time to jump? You know, I don't think that answer should be answered before you firstly identify what is the problem that you're trying to solve and what is that particular business that you're doing. And if you have put in a bit of time for you to even check if this business is valuable, it's able to take you to another level. Have you done all the analysis? Have you done all your SWOT analysis to check exactly if this will take you somewhere? Now, with me, what happened was I had to firstly start and juggle both. And mainly because I needed to be sure if this is something that I can do. Because remember, when you start a business, you can't just start big and then it just booms like that. You have to start small, think of, okay, the problems that you're trying to solve, are you able to solve them right? What do you need? Are you able to get whatever resources while you working full time, for example? And once you get to that level, you get an idea of where you can go. I mean, my company right now, it's going to be 6 years now, and it's been fully operating for just 2 years. So the rest of the time, it's been going on for like part-time. Now, when is the right time to jump ship again? You need to jump when you have realized that financially, this business will actually secure you. You know that month end, if you used to get a particular salary, whether you were doing your day job, and once you started a business and you can see that it's growing and all that, you can start thinking about moving to it full time. But also, it is also an understanding of what will you need, because sometimes when you are inside, when you're outside, actually no, when you are still full time, it's easy for you to think that when you go full time, it will just be that easy, because certain responsibilities get to be more as you are outside of full time, for example. So you need to firstly try and understand where you are, even mentally and all of that, because the main reason why I believe that I was not 100% ready to jump ship, and I'll tell you why. It's mainly because I felt like financially, my business cannot sustain itself more. So it means that somehow I'll have to fund certain things to a certain extent. And my idea of going full on the business was when I know for a fact that I will not need to really take money from my own pocket and fund the business or something like that. That's what I wanted, because when I started my business, it was self-funded. And my idea was, whatever money that comes into the business, it has to grow the business, not me personally taking whatever money that I make and putting it in the business. Now, what happened with me is that I started experiencing health issues. And I don't want you guys to get confused, but I want you to understand that the processes of running a business and running a full-time and a side hustle can have a good impact and a bad impact. So it caught up with me when I couldn't now juggle the two because I was sleeping less. I was just getting sick and relying on energy drinks and all of those things. And it was difficult for me to even focus. I think earlier, Umzokolo mentioned that, you know, when you start not performing that great, and it's not like you're not performing, but the fact that you are not giving it your all, it becomes a little bit tricky in that regard, because if you're not giving your ultimate best, it becomes a problem and something suffers some way. So I realized the two and I thought about it and I was like, I need to make a decision. Now, we can never actually have the right answer to say, when can I jump ship? Because with me, I jumped ship because I realized that I have to make a choice. These are the two businesses that I have. And my business, which is the legacy that I'm creating for myself and the generation to come, it's what I want to focus on full time. So I needed to make that decision, even though I was not that ready. So what did I do? I jumped ship to get to my business full time. So that's how I actually got to do it. So there can be certain reasons that could actually help you to understand whether you should or not. But someone here might have a different perspective to say, you know what, I'm able to work on both and engage with my clients better. Because with me, I was even honest to my clients to say, I have a day job. So understand that if you're expecting work today, know that it might not be possible because I'll have to do it later or in weekends, for example. So honesty as well is important, but jumping ship, make sure that you have enough money at least. If for example, you are busy saving as you're running a full-time job, make sure that you are secured, because you don't want to get out and your business is suffering at the same time. But then again, there can be situations that will force you, like it did for me. And I had to just drop that, because even if you can make so much money, your health matters, guys. And sorry, I'm using the name guys again. Your health matters. What's important is that you need to be ready. You need to be okay mentally, physically, to actually run your entrepreneur business. It doesn't matter the idea, the amazing idea that you have. If you are not in a great state of mind, or if you are not having a balanced way of working and at the same time managing your life, your physical life as a person, then something might suffer. So I think those are the few things that I think one should look at before they jump ship. And yeah, finances are the number one as well, guys, because often we look at life as if, okay, you know what, God will provide. Yes, God will provide and all that, but what are you doing in the interim? If you are hoping to get funding, what is it that you're doing in the interim? You can't just expect to just go to a funding company and ask for funding when you don't even have anything that you can show and all that. So there's just many aspects to look at, but at the end of the day, it was all dependent on where you are, your current situation, and what you think works best for you. And also seeking, you know, I think professional help in terms of how you can do that. It's actually another opinion and or another best option to actually go about it.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that it's not just a matter of when to jump. There are a lot of factors that we need to consider before we decide whether to jump or not to jump. Let's hear Mzo. I know you at some stage as well, you had to make that decision because you say you got overwhelmed and then some of the things were suffering and then you decided to jump. What was the key thing, except that things, some of the things were suffering? What was the other key things you considered when you decided, I'm going to focus on Purple Growth?
Yes, thank you very much, Doc. I think my answer to this one is similar to what has been shared already, but it's also quite important to understand that we can't address this question head on for one reason. Circumstances differ. It also depends on what kind of business one is trying to start with. Some businesses are more like rich quick a type of opportunities. Within a month or two, you're already smiling all the way to the bank. So you may as well leave the job almost immediately there. So it depends on what the business is. It depends on what the circumstances of the person is. But here's my thought on it. My main thought around this is take your time. Take your time. Don't rush to going in full time. It's exciting. When you look from a distance, it looks sexy. It comes with a lot of credibility and praise and all of that. But life will humble you. Business will humble you. And once you've left the corporate space, remember it's a bit difficult to get jobs now. Once you've left that job, chances are they've been waiting for you to leave. They've been trying to find ways of getting rid of you, but then you then say to them, I'm leaving. Then they say, aye, that's exactly what we're looking for. Then you fail in business, you want to come back, and the door is closed already, and no one else is ready to take you on because there are no jobs as well. So I'm trying to say you've got to be very careful around this decision. Take your time. That's my approach. But also the issue of trade-offs becomes important because each and every one of these two options will have a benefit, will have a bit of disadvantage as well. So my view is if you go the side hustle route to say I remain employed, but I'm going to continue side hustling, just understand that chances are you're going to achieve less, right? You're going to achieve less, especially in the short to medium term. Remember, if you're full-time in that business, you could do what you do in 1 year, maybe within two to 4 months. That's the view I've got, at least about my own business. If I were to go in there 100%, I can tell you, I'll be able to see the things I want to see. That's my belief. So if you side hustle, it means you have less time for the business, you have less capacity for the business from your side, you have less sight in terms of what's going on in the business, and you might have to invest in capacity if you need things to move, where you get other people to do certain things on your behalf. You can call them employees, you can call them freelancing consultants or whatever it is. And you've got to trust those people. They might do things their own way, not the way you thought things should be done. So I'm trying to say those are the pros and cons of going the side hustle route, where you remain employed but continue with the business. But also it's a safer option because you are still able to take care of yourself. Even if something goes wrong with the business, at least you still have the salary, especially if your context is that you've got a lot of people who depend on you in terms of your direct family and extended family and all of that. So you have to consider all those things when you make the decision. And then when you go full-time to say, I'm leaving employment altogether, I'm going to be in the business full-time, I think our colleagues have already said it. The issue of financial wellness, so financial fitness becomes important. Have you left enough reserves in the bank so that if you are not able to take money from the business, you are still able to survive, your family is able to survive and all of that. You don't want this business to be a grudge whereby family members are pointing fingers at you, you're taking us down with, and so on and so on. You don't want that kind of pressure. So you might just want to make sure that you are financially fit. And the other thing is you don't want to put pressure in the business, because what happens is you start a business and you're already asking this business for that 100,000 rand salary a month that you were getting from corporate. I can tell you now that business is set up for failure because you're already putting it under pressure. When there's no clients that month, there's no money in the bank, you end up asking for overdrafts, for business loans, while you know that the money is going to your pocket. So it becomes quite dangerous as well. But the beauty about going in full time is that you will have full focus in the business. You have full sight of what's going on in the business. And my view is you'll be able to achieve bigger things within a short space of time compared to someone who is side hustling. So I'm trying to say there's benefits, Doc, on both sides, but mine is to say take time, even if it means years and years and years, side hustling until you are sure that this business is standing on its own, has enough reserves to look after you and those employed, and many other needs that you need to take care of.
Okay, Thanks for that, Zo. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, that's very interesting. Take your time. I think that's very important. You don't go full time because your boss irritated you, and then you go full time because when the irritation is over, you're going to miss that job. So you take your time to make your decision, so that is informed decision. And the truth about what Nzo mentioned about jobs, like I said earlier, that I went full time and I went back side hustling and back. The truth of the matter, like the first time I went full time on my business, I did it for about 6 years or so. And then after that, I went back to employment. And when I went back to employment, things has changed so much that you feel when you get there, it's like you are starting again as a junior from scratch. So those are some of the things that you need to consider. When you get there, you apply for a job, you go for an interview, they ask you, what have you been doing for the last 6 years? And you say, I've been an entrepreneur, and then they say, well, we'll call you. Unfortunately, in South Africa, as much as in the media and all that, entrepreneurship looks like exciting, we are a celebrity and all that. In the corporate space, it's not like in America and other countries. When you say I've been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years, it counts for 0 in most of the jobs when you want to go back to employment. So there's serious considerations to be made when you make that decision. It's not a decision you make out of emotions, because emotions don't last long, but that business will still be there looking at you, wanting you to take care of it. Rutendo, do we have questions there? Let's not leave our attendees behind.
Yes, no, we do have questions, Doc. It's been busy in the chat room. I just wanted to acknowledge some of the guests who are sharing links, who are answering some of the questions that are being asked. So thank you very much. So let me start, maybe because Mzo was talking, there are some specific questions directed to him, and then some of them are quite straightforward. Zo, you talked about having financial resources ready, and somebody asked the question, or whether Provident Fund count as financial reserves. That was the one question, so.
Again, it depends on the context of the individual. What was that money meant for? That money was meant to assist you in retirement. I'm one of the people who took some of my pension money and thrown that into the business when I had issues of funding gaps in the business, mainly because of the many mistakes I made, bringing in so many people, and the story goes on and on. But it's not advisable. That money is meant to assist you in terms of your late age and what your life will be then. Yeah, so I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm feeling very uncomfortable.
Okay. No, thank you. Anil, I hope that helped you. So the other question directed to you is, how does one start a portfolio? I think this person is interested in being a guest lecturer. So they're asking, do they need to have a master's if they want to venture into that space?
Yeah, I think it's also about hustling. Hey? I got into lecturing through volunteering. When you want something, you are willing to make sacrifices. Most of the time, it does happen. Even with the unemployed youth, when I speak to them one-on-one in small groups, I say to them, yes, it's not easy to volunteer, to wake up every day and go to the job and not getting a cent. It's not easy, but you build a track record. You open certain doors, you put yourself out there. I did the same thing with lecturing in terms of going in as a guest speaker, not paid. And over time, I built a name in the space. And once you build name in the space, especially with the business schools, you will be in demand. You will be getting bookings from left to right because of the impact that you've got. So it's an art. In the teaching space, it's more like your artists that go out to sing and so on. It's the same thing. You build a track record, you build a name, and jobs come looking for you. So even myself, I've been saying at some point, I need to get out of this so that I can focus on the business. But I can tell you it's not going to happen anytime soon because of all the demand that is coming left and right. So my answer is most of the business schools at least require a master's. Again, it depends on what level you're going to be teaching in, but the mainstream universities can do onboard people as tutors, as guest lecturers, as lecturers, even at honors level, with a clear pipeline to masters and PhD. You can still get in, but are you really interested in the work? Is it for other reasons? If you're really interested, you're passionate about it, maybe start with the mainstream universities and build a track record there, and then over time you can decide where it takes you. But consider volunteering, consider contacting people who are already lecturing and ask them if you can come in as a guest, come in as an assistant lecturer first, doing all the admin for the lecturer, and then over time do the actual teaching, or maybe an hour here, 30 minutes here. And if they see that you are good at it, I can tell you now, they will open the doors for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. J, there's some questions that are linked to experience and how it can help in your entrepreneurial journey. So, for example, I like the I think it was an observation from Richelle that, you know, the more the challenge that one finds that the more you study and advance in the corporate world, the more you become risk averse, and therefore, you know, entrepreneurial flair is stifled. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if somebody wants to comment on that, but let me ask a direct question, or let me share a direct question. Avin wanted to know, how can corporates enable and encourage side hustles without impacting employee performance? I thought that was interesting, Dr. J. I don't know if any of our panelists want to answer that before I go to the next set of questions.
Yeah, let's hear any from our panelists. Yes, Dr. Fred.
Okay, especially about corporate experience. I briefly talked about my PhD. One of the findings from the PhD was that prior knowledge, regardless of where it comes from, will always help you as an entrepreneur. So when you hear Zo and saying, I used to do this and that, without even realizing it consciously, whatever you learned in corporate actually assists you, because there's nothing like experience that doesn't help or doesn't matter. So in my PhD, we had about only 5 dimensions that we were focusing on. But, and as you know, Dr. Friend, that PhD, you have to come up with something that's novel for new knowledge. But my findings were that in the South African environment, entrepreneurs who really succeed are not necessarily those who had entrepreneurs before. And I was also kind of relieved to learn that, because remember, most of us are first time everything from our families. So you don't have the advantage of having a dinner at home with your parents, listening to them talk about business. Everything that I do today, I did not get from my mom and dad. The only thing I got from my mom and dad, who are retired teachers, is that I had to study and study and study. And that's almost a story overall for all of us, that go to school, get a job and do that. But prior knowledge is something that we should focus on, to say in corporate, for instance, you know, even if you're not in sales or marketing or something like that, when we go to meetings, we get together as a team. Corporates talk more about teamwork. So you'll find that in your exco, in your menco, you get a sales guy who has to come to give you a report, marketing guy, all the different departments have to come and speak. So with that, what you're learning there is that, yes, I've always thought I can never sell. There's one thing that I said to people, no, I can't be an entrepreneur because, guys, I can't even sell anything. I was so surprised when I started my hustle, which is my business of natural hair, that I was so passionate, I was so excited about the results that I was getting, that I would be anywhere and everywhere, I would tell people about this product that I was using, and that's selling. But now, when I eventually formalized it, because now people kept on coming back for more, and I decided, I'm not giving out freebies anymore. I'm gonna turn this into a business. I remember thinking and remembering what I've learned in corporate about sales and marketing. So for the longest time, because I was born before technology, I was so resistant and hesitant to go full swing into social media. I really took long. I think I've been on, you know, as Dr. Friend, you helped me with that. I had phobia because it was like, I'm not going social media. I don't want people to get to know my life and blah, blah, because I didn't really understand social media. So, what really happened, as soon as I latched on, and I want to thank you, Dr. Friend, because I remember it was after one of the guest speaking opportunities at Wits Business School that you said, no, Dr. Friend, try it, it works. And I tried it. But what surprised me is that as soon as I got into social media, I started asking the right questions. And even without understanding, my kids tell me about it, but I was asking the right questions, and the right questions that said, okay, if you're going to tell me that you're going to give me 1,000 followers a month, who are these followers? Are they going to be buying my products or not? So no, those kind of questions, remember, you get them in corporate. You don't just come up with nice figures and say, I'm going to give you followers. Tell me that my followers are going to be converted. And if you can't answer that question, you need to tell me why not. And I remember I struggled a lot with social media people because I kept on asking the hard questions, and it helped me. And even without understanding the subject, but I knew what to ask, because this is my thing. If I'm gonna have 1 million followers, they better be doing something to the bottom line. Yes, it's brand awareness and all that. So corporate really teaches you that, and with cognitive adaptability, which is something that I was researching, it basically says the reason why some students get distinctions and others fail exams is the way they learn. And that's cognitive. They don't, you read a book for 5 hours, but you don't even remember what you were reading. And then you go into an exam and you say, I spent the whole night cross-nighting. I was cross-nighting and I've done this. But when the exam comes, you can't answer it. You know why? Because we don't know how to learn. And that's what I learned in the thing, that once you know what you don't know, then you always gonna raise your hand and say, please help me. For instance, in my case, when I did I took the test to check if I was ready for entrepreneurship. One of the things that came out below average for me was conscientiousness. And what is that? It's attention to detail. So, and it said, you are below average, you need to do something about it. And what does it mean, attention to detail? I don't like going to register, compliance. I don't like doing administration. I don't check money and budget. So I just sell my shampoo. If you pay me, I don't know when you're gonna pay me, it's okay. But I had to stop that. I had to learn. I had to realize that I'm not good at that. I'm not good at doing administration. Sit down. And most of us don't have budgets. I go to Woolworths, I end up buying for 1,000 rand. For 1,000, and I was not supposed to spend that. You know why? Because there's no budget. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you don't really get hold of those things that you know you're weak at, it's going to kill your business. And that's what happened to me. Just in short, I remember the first sale that I made. I got a big order from someone and I was so excited. I was like, oh my goodness, I've made the first big sale. And my husband was overseas. I called him, I said, love, guess what? I am going to deliver products today after work. I've made a big sale. And then my husband said to me, where's the money? Has she paid you? And I was like, no, but you know, she's our friend. She says, no, it doesn't work like that. You're gonna struggle to get that money back. Don't go there until she's paid. And I was already on my way there. And I was so frustrated because I was thinking, but this is a good friend of ours. And then he said to me, today is the end of your friendship. And you know what I had to do? I phoned her because I just said to myself, I know now that I'm weak at this, but I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm gonna park the car by the roadside and I'm going to phone her. And I phoned her and I said a prayer before I phoned. And I said, my friend, please, I haven't seen proof of payment. And she said to me, but you never sent me your bank details. And I said, okay, I'm going to send you now. And fortunately for me, she paid. And then I drove. And that was the beginning of me and my relationship with money. Because without that, you will not survive. But the long and short of what I'm saying is that almost everything that you know about yourself can help you. Experience, education, your background, it will always help you. We need to remember as entrepreneurs that everything that you have, you must use it to the benefit of this thing that you're building. Yes, prior knowledge from corporate, I promise you it works because you get, the work ethic, asking the right questions. And yes, I've never thought I would be in cosmetics. And I think I kissed too many frogs. But for every frog that I kissed, I learned a good lesson, and I firmly believe I'm still going on. I've got less frogs to kiss in that space. Thank you.
Yeah, we learn as we go. I was about to cut you now. We're hitting 7, and we still have a few questions to ask. So if you go long, I'm going to cut you. I'm not rude, but we're just trying to keep the time. Sorry, Rutendo. How many more questions do we still have that side so that we can manage it?
We do have a number of questions, Doc. So let me ask some questions that are related to people who've tried and failed. Because for me, it tugged at my heart. So Siyabonga, Pambili have mentioned that they've tried. So Siyabonga specifically said he's been running, or he or she has been running a business, a full-time business, and then their 4th year, but try as much as they've as much as they can. It's just not growing, and then so they wanted to find out what could they do to stay motivated. I don't know what business they're in, but Pambili also shared that they failed many times in trying to start a side business, and the question is, so how do you know that the side hustle will work? And linked to that, I think it's something that Dr. Friend says to say that it's got to be a business that offers a feasible or a practical solution to a problem. And so the question is, so how do you identify that this will provide a practical solution to a problem? And I guess another group of questions is really centered around the identification of those businesses or entrepreneur opportunities that will work.
Yeah, let me just jump onto that one. I get a lot of those questions in class. So I teach entrepreneurship, and you'll get a lot of those questions. How am I going to know that this is going to work? What if I start it and I fail? And I always give the answer that nobody wants to know. You will never know until you fail. The only time you know that it worked is when it worked, and the only time you know it didn't work is when it didn't work. That's why entrepreneurship is about your risk appetite. Are you prepared to fail? Are you prepared to lose? But you have to do, as Mzo said earlier, take your time, do your homework, your experience, everything. There's a lot of things that you need to consider and try to understand what's the problem you're trying to solve and all that. But you will never know whether that is going to work or it's not going to work. You will read all sorts of textbooks that will give you a long list or 10 things that will make you succeed as an entrepreneur, 20 things that will make you succeed as an entrepreneur, but you will never know. There's no guarantee. You do the best you can do to improve or to increase the likelihood of success, but the only day you will know it worked is the day it worked, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks, Doc. There was also an interesting question from Nita, who says, how important is purpose in traversing the entrepreneurship journey? Is it primarily about the financial drivers? So how important is purpose? That was a question from Nita. And maybe linked to purpose, there was also a question that was asked about, how do you know you're cut out for business? And I know Dr. Friend said, she was made. Is it a certain personality or a profile? Should you be a risk taker? If, for example, you are a risk averse by nature, should you even try and consider a side hustle or try a business full time? And I relate to that because I'm such a risk, averse, and so I get scared. So that was another question that was asked.
Okay, let's let Ntabi take that shortly.
All right. So my opinion is like this. So when it comes to business, it's important that whatever that you do, it should be something that you can be passionate about. And something about passion, you are not born with passion. Somehow you need to put passion in whatever that you're doing. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's a little bit tricky to rely more on just what you're passionate or what you love doing. Sometimes you can see that this is a great business opportunity. You can just also venture into that particular type of business and try to make sure that you do your planning properly and you delegate where you need to, and the business runs smooth and it becomes successful. Now, when it comes to also like having that purposeful thing of running a business, and when do you think that you are cut out to actually run a business? It is when you are able to stand against all odds. When your business is not doing well, you are willing to make it a point that you try all sorts of ways to make it work. And when you have understood the value of that business or what you actually want to achieve from that business, that's when it comes a little bit clear. And another thing that I want to point out is that, and this is what our global speaker, Vusi Tembekwayo, who is also an entrepreneur, he has also mentioned this, and that came a bit hard, but I'm hoping that this will also awaken something in all of you guys or whoever who might be confused. So there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a self-employed person. So the question that I have for you, do you know that you are an entrepreneur? Are you actually a real entrepreneur or are you just self-employed? And the difference between the two is that, for example, I have a design agency and most of the work that I do, I have to do them myself. So meaning when Vusi was saying that, it hit hard to say, okay, so I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm self-employed, right? But now, as I got to continue with my business, it had to grow and venture into a couple of baby businesses that come under the agency, right? Which now I can fully say that I can say I'm an entrepreneur. Now, when you are self-employed, sometimes you need to do everything on your own. And it's difficult for you to juggle all of that. You don't know even the principle of delegating and all of that. So it becomes difficult for you to even think if you are capable of running something because you see it failing and you're thinking that maybe I'm not cut out for this. But now something about entrepreneurship, you need to be willing to put in work and try every way possible and understand the type of business that you're doing. Because I mean, Dr. Hajo was saying earlier, I think as he was speaking, I picked up also the fact that, okay, hair care business, for example. So you firstly need to think about your type of business. And before you can even look at how other businesses are performing there, understand the nature of your business and what it requires and what your target market requires. Because also the people that you're giving savings to, they are out there and you need to firstly know what they want. So even if you can have the most amazing business idea of your company, what it does, but at the end of the day, the people that needs to direct the path of how it should run, it's you are offering savers to, because you need to get input as to what they want, how they want it, and how you can implement that, because those are your customers. Without that, it won't be worth it. And my last point is that value. What value are you giving? Because another thing about being an entrepreneur, we think that it's all about making sales and whatnot. We're focusing on the fact that we want to make sales. How about before you even jump ship, offer value? Whatever that you want to start monetizing, what you want to start selling on everything, how about you give a bit of value? Like what Doctor did. She used to give out stuff for free, for example, But later she saw that, okay, this is actually a great opportunity. So what have you done in whatever that problem that you want to solve? Have you tried to give out value? Have you tried to do some kind of survey to find out what interests people, what do they want, and how they can get that savings? So I think those are things that you can think about, and it will somehow give you a direction as to, should we continue with the business, or should you wait? Like Zoe said, you can take your time, and it's okay to take your time. You are not in competition with anyone. You can still run it part-time. And even now, we are realizing that even running your business from home is okay. Then people used to think of entrepreneurship as, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to have some big business office somewhere, and that is classified as you being a successful entrepreneur. And it's not the case. So you need to really be true to yourself and have an understanding of where your business is, or where you want to take it from the root, and know your target audience. Knowing your audience will give you a clear direction. I hope that that helps.
Thank you, Tabi. Rutendo, you still have
Yes,
more?
yes, we do. There's a question on timing. Is it advisable? Somebody says, is it advisable to even be looking to leave work permanently in such difficult economic climate, created by COVID? And it goes on to say, shouldn't one be, looking at keeping your full-time job and then continue to side hustle for as long as possible? So that the timing question, and it's linked to something Kerusha asked very early on, to say, how does then one balance a full-time job with the demands of a side hustle? Any tips?
Yeah, I think Zoe touched on that as well earlier, in terms of balancing the two. And I think, and Tabi, I think, also mentioned the issue of context as well, that you need to, because all of us, our situations are different, and you need to be true to your own context. The fact that Tabi jumped ship maybe a year in being in business, and then was able to survive, maybe she's got parents that work, could support her and all that, is something that someone else might not have. So you might not be able to jump ship same time. So context is very important. And what Tabi was saying earlier about offices, that we used to have a situation where you were deemed an entrepreneur if you've got fancy offices. If you don't, then you are not a proper entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not about what people see and the status and all that. You can be an entrepreneur side hustling, or you can be and doing it full time. Just pay attention to your context, financial wise and all that. The other day I said, one of the things that sometimes some of us who are older didn't have a chance or an opportunity for is that when we finished school, everybody was waiting for us to work, and we had to go and work, and we didn't have the opportunity to try businesses and fail and be comfortable. So if I've got the luxury of somebody financially supporting me, I'll make different decisions from somebody who has to support the whole family, as Mzo was saying earlier. But the truth of the matter is, both, whether you take the hybrid or you take the full-time, both of them, they've got their own risks, their own challenges, and their own benefits. And you need to sit down and do that exercise, put your risks down, put your challenges down, put your benefits down, and do some trade-offs. Which one is going to work for you? There's no one who's a better entrepreneur than the other. You're side hustling, that's the model that works for you. You're full-time, that's the model that works for you. Be true to your context. I don't know whether the panelist wants to add to that, but be true to your context. It's hard to balance two jobs, but be true to your context.
Thank you, Dr. J. There is a question for Dr. H. The name of the test you took, Dr. H, what is the test called, and then where can people get it?
Okay, thank you for that question. I would leave the link on the, I'll just type the link here. It's on the Entrepreter website. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you very much. There's also an important question from somebody called the People's MC. Their question is, what's your outlook on the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa and what needs to change? Particularly, I mean, they say our leaders in parliament, talk about entrepreneurship, but there's very little implementation. So Dr. Jen and our panelists, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that one. What is the outlook of the state of entrepreneurship in South Africa and what needs to change?
Okay.
Can I jump in a little bit?
Yes, Tabi.
Oh, I thought you were going.
No, I'm the facilitator. I must allow the panelists first. I can't talk too much.
Okay, so when we think of our government, and I'm looking at South Africa just in general, and how, as a young business owner, I'm just looking at what's currently happening, and I realized that there is so much of this thing of us wanting to rely on maybe government to assist, or relying on someone to come and make a difference or something like that. And at the same time, there are certain things that we don't talk about. I feel like, as much as we're having this conversation, I feel like more of this conversations needs to happen. More of this seminars need to happen about entrepreneurship. I don't think they're spoken about more, and it's not triggering enough to those that at a higher power for them to actually understand the needs of entrepreneurs. And like, for example, we are not just talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about like that side hustle. So what is the side hustle? Because I believe that a business is a business. It doesn't matter how small or what. And for a big business to develop, it has to start small. So it means that whatever small opportunity or small hustle you're doing, it should be taken serious. It should be somehow recognized. And also, us as young entrepreneurs, it's important for us to now somehow have a way of presenting ourselves better, because I think another thing that is a little bit of a problem, our buyers, our market is people. And sometimes we would say support small business, support entrepreneurs and all of that. But some are not even putting in the effort, putting in the work. Now, going back to government, I don't know, this is just me, and I'm sure someone might disagree or have a different opinion on this. I feel like they are failing us at some point. Like, there is somehow a lack of help in terms of entrepreneurs and everything, and from funding and all that, because you realize how much young entrepreneurs or just developing entrepreneurs have got such amazing ideas, great ideas, but you see funding going to businesses that are not even existing. Like, there's too much corruption that is happening. And unfortunately, that's what's happening in this world. It's sad, it makes me angry, but it's a question of, what do we do as entrepreneurs? How can we better ourselves? How can we try to work together? I think my opinion is that while we wait for the higher powers to really recognize us or see the value, let's work on being the best version of ourselves in our businesses, meaning putting our A game. Because another concern is that we have entrepreneurs, people that are ready to start a business, they're in business, but now when you start requesting savers and all that, the savers is poor, and we still needed to support businesses like that, and we still have to work with them. But how do we do that? And if you're giving me pure quality work, how is my business going to survive if your work is not of good quality? So I think let's work on that aspect as well. The higher powers, I'm hoping that someone will touch on this one, because I don't even focus a lot on that. I feel like us as entrepreneurs, we can do something for ourselves and put our A game. And if your work speaks for itself, if you put in an effort, nothing will stand in your way of succeeding, in my opinion.
Thank you, Ntabi. We will be wrapping up the session at 5:30. But I want to get hopefully all the questions that are still out there, Rutendo. And then after that, we will give our panelists each to give a few tips and some few things that everybody who's thinking of jumping ship or side hustling can consider. So can we wrap up the few that we still have there, Rutendo?
Sure, Doc. There was somebody who brought in a different, perspective, and I appreciated that, to say maybe have we considered an entrepreneurial portal? They said this is for individuals to market their service to a wider audience, and also maybe a recommendation to say I think we do need to have constant conversations around this. And I know, Dr. J, you're very passionate about this space, and then you've committed to us having more conversations. So the questions that have been posted have really been about, it's been insightful, it's been provocative, and I'm also quite conscious of the time that you might need to wrap up. So apologies to our guests if I have not managed to pick up all your questions, but I am cognizant of the fact that we are running out of time. There was a question, somebody asked a question, who is in retail? I think, again, it's just to say, so at what stage, would you know to move to full-time into business? So, is it when you've got 2 or 3 stores, and when do you then ascertain when is the right time to jump ship? And I think to your point, Dr. J, you said it's the context, what business are you in? And so it was just to say, I have 2 or 3 stores, brick and mortar stores. When would I jump? When would I move into full-time business? So that was just a question of somebody who's in the retail space.
Okay, thank you for that, Rutendo. I think most of the people, they're hoping to get an answer that says, when you've got 3 stores, jump ship. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that you have to make the decision yourself. You have to make do the analysis on your side. And you as an entrepreneur, you are the only one who will know, looking at your own context, as to when is the right time. What are you going to eat while you know, because one of the things that entrepreneurs really make a mistake about is being optimistic, thinking that they're going to make a profit next week. You have to be realistic as to how long it's going to take you before you are able to get income from the business and all that, because you still need to eat while you are still marketing and all that. So all those things are things that you consider that will help you decide, should I jump ship, or the jumping ship will never work for me, I'm just going to stay here, or am I going to jump in the next 5 years or whatever. It's really all unique to a specific person. No one will come and tell you definitely to say jump ship now, because you're the one who knows your context best. So I've seen in the charts, most people want that answer to say when exactly. They want a date and time and venue and all that, and you are not going to get that. It's one of those hard decisions that you have to make and find out you jumped too early or you jumped too early, and it's fine, it's part of the game. You jump early, you feel I jumped early, you learn, you continue, but that's just how it goes. Back to my panelists, let's wrap up. We don't want to go over time, otherwise we are not going to see our attendees next time. Tips, just one thing. I know I've got YouTubers here. If you talk long, I will cut you. Tips, 1 or 2 things to consider before you jump ship, and what are the mistakes that, especially those who jump ship, what mistake you made that you can tip other people not to make the same mistake?
Yeah, Doc, I'll just give very quick tips in general. I think one is that entrepreneurship is a journey of sacrifice. So along the way, you're going to lose people because you're going to get so busy, you're going to put in a lot of time, you're going to lose people, you're going to have to sacrifice potentially part of your social life and a few other things. So it's a journey of sacrifice. Stay the course. Patience. Patience is a very important currency for you. If you are looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, I don't think you're in the right place if you are in entrepreneurship. So patience, but also being clear in terms of what you want to achieve. Some of us want to achieve big things, and we're clear on that. It's not going to happen within 5, 10. It might take 15 years or a bit more. Think about some of these big brands. It took 20, 30, 40, 50 years to build some of those brands. Look after every cent. Don't get excited when money comes in, when you've got that pension, you employ 50, 100, 200 people and so on, and you spend on the nice to haves like business cards and all those nice things. Spend your money where it matters most. And the last one, financial acumen is the most important skill if you are to succeed. Some of us have made so many mistakes that relate to money, but once you are clear in terms of this particular competency, you will go very far. Take a course. There are so many free courses out there on finance for non-financial managers, for example, but financial acumen is quite key if you are to succeed in that business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mzo. That's very insightful. Okay, Ntabi.
Thank you so much, Dr. J. My input would be, it's important to understand that how this world is going or how it's happening, especially in the digital space. You need to open yourself in finding out the best opportunities that are out there that you can do for yourself as an entrepreneur. Have a mindset of wanting to establish something or just be innovative at some point, but that does not mean you cannot start where you are. And also, when you are an entrepreneur, whether you are part-time or full-time, make sure that you know how to separate your finances. Your bank account and your business account are two different things. Know how to save, know all the important things, the small things that will help you to grow your business, because you don't want to be called a small entrepreneur forever. Your small entrepreneurship has to go. You need to have an enterprise. You need to grow big. So look into those small things. And one mistake that I did was to overwork myself, taking work that I couldn't do, overpromise and deliver, but not deliver on time. And that breaks trust when it comes to customers and clients. So try by all means to be as honest as possible with your client and take in what you can. Don't be greedy, don't be selfish. The reason why I have Entrepreneur Puzzle, which is an online magazine, is for all entrepreneurs that have different skills to put their stuff there so that we can, if I cannot do something, I can delegate to say, okay, Dr. J can do this or Dr. H can do that. So you can delegate. Do not take in what you cannot do. So for more of, my value proposition, because I normally give out value, I have a YouTube channel, Real Talk with Ntabi. I share business engagements. I can assist where I can. So let me leave it there before Dr. J cuts me off. Thank you very much.
The YouTubers. Thanks, Tabi. Yeah, we've had that conversation when you were still an employee to say, you see what happens when you are an employee and I'm waiting for delivery.
Exactly. You are the
Dr.
yeah.
I think for me, I've got just a few role models that I want to talk about. Cura schools. Cura is a direct product of a PhD research. So what am I saying to anybody who's studying in this platform? Please try when you're studying, when you're doing your assignments, use that opportunity to fine-tune your business plan. Because if you look at Cura today and where it's going, it's amazing that the guy, Chris van der Merwe, was a teacher, and a teacher that could not get a job at the Department of Education went on to form Cura. So whatever we are studying, let's not just study for the sake of study. If you look at Nike, my favorite story, Nike shoes. The guy who started Nike, Phil Knight, it was his MBA project. He even talks about how bored the professors and the students were the day that he presented his paper. So again, as I said, if anybody says to you that education is not important, I'm standing here to say it is not true. Look at the people that have built business. People literally use the opportunity at the business school to work on the business plan. This thing of going to study time, we should change narrative. When people look, should know the reason why we keep on studying. It is the next school. Look, who can ever be a teacher? Look at the guy was a chartered accountant who ended up coming up with this amazing
I think we've lost Dr. H, but I think we got the gist of what she was saying. On my part, really, what I want to say, just a few words to say: be true to your context. Don't compete with anybody. Don't feel inferior when somebody says you are not a proper entrepreneur because you've got a smaller business or because you are side hustling or whatever. Define your own and do what works for you. Our situations are all different. And whether you prefer to side hustle for life, it's your decision, there's nothing wrong. Or you decide to side hustle until at a certain point, it's your decision as well, there's nothing wrong with that. Or you decide to say, I just want to be an employee, I'm not getting involved in entrepreneurship, there's nothing wrong with that too, that is your decision. All of us, we've got appetite for different things. We get fulfilled by different things, but be true to your context. That is very important. And I always emphasize that because sometimes you find the belittling that happens because those who are full-time feel they are better entrepreneurs than those who are hybrid, and those who are hybrid and vice versa. So define for yourself. You want to be a small business for life, it's your decision. You want to side hustle, is your decision, but take a model that works for you, and then you will be happy and you will enjoy it because it's what works for you. Thank you everybody for joining us. I see a lot of people are already leaving us. It is 1:30, and thank you very much. I hope you found something. You can follow our panelists. I think if you are following the Wits Twitter, you will get their Twitter handles there. You can follow them. They are all involved and active in the entrepreneurship space. So you can follow them and then get more insight and ask them more questions if you want to ask them. Thank you very much. Signing off, Dr. J. You can follow me as well at Dr. J, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
And our panelists.
Thank you.
This was lovely, colleagues. Thank you very much.